every single reporter was pivotal to the project. Richard personally scanned hundreds of thousands of documents by hand so we could digitize and search them, and he contributed vital law enforcement source work. Tom set up our gargantuan evidence database and applied his forensic genius to fathoming the dizzyingly complex financial maneuvers at the heart of the story. Jane deployed her unparalleled skills at tracking people down and persuading them to talk against all the odds. And Alex wore out his shoe leather running down leads across America. Jason, the sort of rock and roll reporter who'll stop to get a new tattoo in between meetings with spies, blew the story wide open by getting a multiplicity of US intelligence sources to spill details of secret files linking every single one of the deaths in Britain to Russia. Reporting this story was, at times, a dicey ride. A man in a black car appeared every night for months outside one reporter's house. Another reporter came home to find personal items had been moved around in his bedroom, and it appeared one team member was being followed. We used trackers, panic buttons, intruder alarms, encryption and counter-surveillance techniques to stay safe. And in the final phase of the project, some reporters were moved to discreet locations for their security. Our initial investigation was published by BuzzFeed News in June 2017. The shockwaves it sent are detailed in the pages that follow. Since then, we have carried on investigating and gathering fresh evidence that places the 15 suspected assassinations we initially uncovered at the center of a much wider campaign of Kremlin-sanctioned killing around the world. This book is based on that body of work. Details of the events described are taken from our vast repository of documentary and digital evidence, as well as interviews with people who were present, and the dialogue recounted here is based on the best recollections of those who heard it. What follows is a story that more than one government wanted to keep secret, and it would have lain buried forever without the tireless work of my incomparable colleagues at BuzzFeed News. Heidi Blake. Introduction. Salisbury, England, March 4th, 2018. The fog that enveloped the city overnight had cleared by lunchtime, revealing the cloud-tipped spire of Salisbury Cathedral to the smattering of Sunday diners ambling up Castle Street. The afternoon was cold and quiet, and a light rain was fizzling on the medieval rooftops as two figures emerged from a columned restaurant door. The couple, a smart, plump, snowy-haired man with a blonde some decades his junior, would have gone unnoticed among the lunch crowd at Zizi, where they had been washing down risotto with white wine, had it not been for his outburst midway through their meal. The pair left the restaurant suddenly after he flew into a loud temper, ducking down an alley and hurrying away from the marketplace. But their pace slackened once they emerged and crossed the bridge over the swollen river. Across the Avon lies a small tree-fringed playground where children were feeding ducks in the drizzle, and the man paused to press some bread he'd saved from lunch into their hands before the pair strolled on toward the edge of the green. It was here that they came to a sudden halt. Within minutes, passers-by would stop to stare at a bizarre scene. The man and woman were slumped together on a bench, she unconscious, he making strange hand gestures and apparently transfixed by the sky. As onlookers cautiously approached, the man seemed to freeze. Then the woman began convulsing, her eyes white and mouth foaming. The Sunday shoppers who rushed to help were unaware of the seismic global significance of what was unfolding before them. This was the latest salvo in a secret war being waged on the West by a hostile foreign superpower, and their peaceful Wiltshire city had become a battleground, the site of the first chemical weapons attack unleashed on European soil since the Second World War. Still more alarming, the Good Samaritans themselves were being exposed to a lethal poison even as they stood on the green, sheltering the stricken pair under umbrellas while they waited for paramedics. The couple on the bench were Sergei Skripal, a former Russian spy turned double agent for MI6, and his 33-year-old daughter, Yulia. Skripal, then 66, had arrived in the United Kingdom 8 years earlier, after being freed from a Russian prison.